The last time the Commission, on the visit it had to the airport, you were quite helpful in taking the commissioners around and showing them the aircrafts. This time, I believe you were informed when your office was contacted that the Commission would like to be informed on the disposal, I believe, of the aircrafts. But before we talk about the disposal of the aircrafts, on the last visit you had said that one of the aircrafts was not in the jurisdiction. It was in Germany.
Yes.
And you had also indicated that you had been given a time limit, I believe, by the airport authorities where the aircraft was, that action had to be taken by the government with regard to that aircraft. Could you update us regarding that aircraft?
Well, basically, the aircraft went for maintenance in Germany.
Could you identify the aircraft again, please?
That would be the Challenger 601 with registration marks Charlie 5 Alpha Fox Tango.
Okay. Yes. Proceed.
Yes. Unfortunately, there was some delays with regards to the maintenance, mostly due to payment issues. And by the time the payment issues were resolved, the new government had come into place. And for us to, basically, Gambia CA provides technical assistance with regards to the state aircraft. So we basically monitor the maintenance. And operationally, it was GIA that was responsible for the operational aspect of it. But all of these was paid for by the state. So when the aircraft was finally ready and needed to be repositioned, then we needed to hire a crew, get insurance, and make for all those payments. And since the fact that we had a new government in place that wasn't au fait with the issues, we negotiated with the maintenance facility to maintain the aircraft, basically to preserve it, and they offered to do that for us for free for 6 months, which was to allow the new government to settle in and make a decision. And that's actually the reason why the aircraft was there. So the 6 months they gave us expired in October. And they sent an email informing us that from in fact they extended till November, end of November. And they said end of November, then they will pull the aircraft out of their facility, which wasn't being, and they will move it to the airport facility, to the airport apron, where they will start to charge parking, because now it's in the commercial area. So we had informed government, which is our line ministry. And that's where it is at the moment.
So basically, the aircraft is now in the commercial area?
Yes.
Of the airport. What is the airport called again?
It's in Cologne, Germany.
Is there any cost associated to having the aircraft parked in the commercial area?
Yes, they will be charging normal parking fees like any other airport.
What are these?
That is dependent on any airport. I mean, every airport has its own charges.
Have your institution, have you found out or tried to find out how much the charges will be?
Actually, no.
We are in the end of December.
Yes, ma'am.
Is it aircraft charges per day?
Normally, but if it's long-term parking, they can do long-term. Actually, the last correspondence we got, middle of this month, we got an offer by the maintenance facility to continue to do the preservation for a charge. But the offer they forwarded, my professional opinion was that the cost it was going to cost for us to pay, we could easily pay for the aircraft to be back here.
So have you updated the government about the situation?
I'm not sure on that. Because basically we advise our Director General's office, and he's the one in contact with the office of the...
But why are you not sure? You came to represent your Director General. One would have expected that you'd find out about the up-to-date status of each of the aircrafts that you have.
Actually I have, but all the information and all the indication I'm getting is it hasn't been done.
Now, right, the reason why, just to make it clear, that the Commission is interested in the issue of the disposal of the aircraft is because under our terms of reference, we are expected to make recommendations regarding the recovery of assets and also, of course, disposal of assets. Yeah. These aircrafts were purchased from public funds, and we had subject matter for our investigation leads to the fact that all these aircrafts were acquired by public funds or misapplied public funds, at least if I may say so as counsel to the Commission at this stage. So the Commission needs to understand the process that your institution has adopted in the disposal of these aircrafts. The evidence that has been, or the testimony from the Ministry of Works by the Permanent Secretary is that Cabinet had decided that the aircraft be valued and disposed of. Now, we would like to understand the process that you have adopted in this regard. The commissioners, of course, will ask you questions about this later. But could you explain what process or procedure you are following in the disposal of these aircraft?
Well, first of all, when the new government came, in February we were invited to give a status update on the airplanes. And we had given them a status update and also accompanied with recommendations as to what we professionally thought was relevant to these airplanes.
Do you have those documents, the recommendations with you?
Yeah,
you have them with you?
I have, yeah, I have.
You have it, okay, yeah. Good.
Yes, we did that, and in fact, on several occasions, we've provided status reports. You know, unfortunately, to speak frankly, the problem we've been having is who makes the decision. You know, we have offers, we forward the offers, and then we wait.
Before we talk about offers, I would like to understand the procedure that is being applied or being used to actually dispose of this aircraft. Yes. I mean, it's correct that government has taken the decision to dispose of the entire fleet, including the tractors, air tractors and all. That's correct, isn't it?
Yes, that's correct.
Yes, so, and you are to be responsible for this process, your institution.
We are assisting in the process, yes.
You are assisting or you're responsible for the process?
I understand we are assisting.
Who are you assisting?
The government they just set up a task force who's been tasked with this particular function of disposing with the airplane. So okay. Because we have custody of the aircraft and its records, and with airplanes, anybody wanting to buy, the first thing you want to do is to look at the records. That will basically tell you what the aircraft is worth.
You had said that before. Yes. Okay, yes, you are assisting, but what's the procedure? We'll accept now, that you are assisting for now.
Right now, what happened is they've set up a task force, and they had an inaugural meeting at the Minister of Works in October. And following that meeting, we were tasked with coming up with an agreement in order to contract with brokers who will then go ahead and put it in the market. So we've gotten a contract which was done by AG Chambers, and we forwarded that to the 3 different brokers that are interested, and we're waiting for their feedback as we speak.
Have the aircraft been valued?
No.
Have they been assessed?
Assessed by us.
Yeah, assessed with a view to determining what price one might expect if they were disposed, if they were put in the market.
The problem we're having with the valuation is there are 2 ways of doing it.
Has that been done? Not yet?
No.
Okay, no valuation, no assessment. Okay, explain why.
With regards to the valuation, there are two ways of doing it. There is what they call the desktop valuation, where basically you contract the company, they ask you information, you give them information, and then they just come up with a figure for the airplane. But you have to pay for this. And the code is $5,000 per asset.
Per?
Asset. And then the other one, which is more realistic one, is where they will actually send in specialists to come and inspect the aircraft, look at the records, and give a more realistic evaluation, which costs double that per asset.
That's 10,000.
Yes, minimum.
Yes.
Euros, not even dollars, euros.
Yes.
And as it is, we only assist, so when it comes to payment issues, government is the one that's always paid for this. So we've conveyed this information. And secondly, it's our opinion that to pay for this valuation, we'd only add more loss to what we already have, because these airplanes are vintage aircraft. Basically, the best you can get out of it is, if you're lucky, someone has an interest. Otherwise, they're going to be scrapped. And as we speak, every month we wait, we lose value because of the nature of airplanes. There is a lot of items in it that are time-bound. Case in point, we have the...
Sorry, let's just discuss this, the need for an assessment.
Yes.
And I should expect that there is policy guideline on the disposal of government assets. Isn't there?
Not that I'm aware of, with regards to airplanes, no.
I see. I find it difficult to appreciate how you will determine what is a fair price if you do not have an indication of the value of these aircraft, at least an indicative value that you could use as some sort of reserve price. I find that very difficult to appreciate.
Actually, how you can make that determination is basically online. There are firms that actually sell airplanes online. So what you do is you look at the aircraft type, the year, and other factors like the hours and what kind of checks are due. And you can basically, when you get an offer, you could compare with what is available online around with the same conditions, and you should be able to make a determination whether it's a fair price or not.
Yes. Of course, subject to questions that will be asked by the commissioners.
Yes.
When it comes to disposal of government assets, which are public assets,
okay.
It's always, of course, advisable or desirable that there is a transparent process. And the transparent process begins by actually having an indication of the possible value of the assets, okay. And of course a competitive process as well. Okay. Now, you say because of price, you decided or you advised that it was not probably necessary to have an assessment done. But even the desk assessment that you mentioned, $5,000 per plane, seems to me not, not an exorbitant cost in terms of what you want to do. Because you do expect at least at the minimum, at least I'm sure, at least $1 million, I hope, for all the fleet, at the minimum.
You mean inclusive?
Yes.
Yes, certainly.
Yes, certainly. I should think so. I don't know anything about aircrafts, and paying $25,000 to begin with to have an assessment done seems to me not exorbitant at all in terms of disposing of an aircraft. So those are some of the things I would like to really point out at this stage. I know the commissioners have questions for you in regard to the process that you wish to adopt.
Yes, one on the back of the comment about loss that may be attributed to assessment or valuation. So are we saying due to the nature of the aircraft, if you do an assessment and pay 5,000 euros, 10,000 euros, that's sort of adding loss to it, meaning evaluation is sort of nice to have, but not a need to have. You can sell it and still not do evaluation. Is that what you're saying?
That is our firm belief at this stage, especially looking at most of those airplanes.
Okay. So now the question then comes, in the negotiation, you could lose far more than that if you don't know the fair value.
Well, like I said, for example, let's look at the most current one, which is the one that the First Lady used last year. That's a Boeing 727-100. It came out a check in 2015. So in February, when government came and we informed them of the status and recommended for a sale, it was only due for an A check, which would cost about, let's say, $10,000. The decision hasn't been made. Now we are in December. In September, it became due for what we call a C check, which minimum would cost about $200,000 US. So anybody buying an airplane now will take that cost of it. So what we're saying is, doing evaluation, and doesn't mean you're going to get, people are going to offer you that. The stage of these airplanes are such that you probably get one or two offers, and you just choose between them, the best out of it. Because they are not top of the line in any case. You know, we're talking about a 1966 aircraft that has been on ground for 4 years, with parts already removed from it. We're talking about a Russian airplane that's been on ground for close to 2 years now that are due for heavy checks. In fact, the only offer we got on that was about $50,000 US.
Those points are very valid, but the key point here, how are you going to protect your credibility after you sell the aircraft and somebody comes and subjects you to scrutiny and say, well, you sold it for $1.5 million, but you didn't base it on any expert valuation. It was just on your opinion of the price, or maybe it was negotiated. Don't you think from the authorities' standpoint, it's actually better for your credibility to have it valued for record purposes or for audit purposes?
No, but I think what we try and avoid also, I think what we also try and avoid is a case where an evaluator comes and says this aircraft is valued at $2 million or $3 million, and you're only getting offers for $1 million. You understand? Because we know that these airplanes are not really in the market. So you're going to really struggle or almost beg people to buy it. That's the situation, really.
I think that's fair enough. From your expert.
And if I may add, like I said also, you see, their airplanes are mostly sold online. So you can really make comparative value, basically, by looking at the same aircraft particular type and the age and certain parameters that and you can compare when you get an offer to know whether it's good or not.
No, what I was saying, from your opinion as an expert, you're saying we should sell it for what we get, because this is not something that has resale value. We'll be lucky to get a good offer. Is that what you're saying? The government should take what it gets.
That's what I'm saying.
Thank you.
You made a point on the online comparative system
Yes.
of valuation. But have you applied that?
We have to pay for it.
But that wouldn't be very expensive. Is that what you are saying?
They're talking about $5,000 per asset.
Even for the online comparison?
Yeah.
And that cannot be done within the country? That cannot be done, for instance, at civil aviation?
What we're saying is...
No, I'm just asking.
Yes.
Can you do it? Can you do the online comparative valuation?
No, that online is
within your department. That's a simple question. If you can, tell me. If you cannot, you tell me.
Maybe
if
I don't
to find out,
yeah.
You tell me.
I probably don't understand the question very well. When I say online,
Yes.
means the people who actually have a software there, but you have to pay for them to give you that evaluation. It's not like you just go in and enter it and you get it right.
So you don't
it's not
have
free.
the software?
No, we don't.
Yes, that's the answer. The answer is you can't do it.
No, we can't.
Within civil aviation. That's simple.
Yes.
Thank you. But what he's saying is the ability, is that financial? There are people at the other end ready to give you a fair value if you pay 5,000 euros. So when you say you cannot, is it about somebody approving the token 5,000, which is recoverable after you sell it? But at least that's better. You have a basis to move from, rather than take whatever someone else comes and offer.
Well, like I said, it was our recommendation that doing an evaluation is not going to improve the offers we get. That was our recommendation, or at least our opinion, that it will only go to count more to the loss.
Okay. But it enormously increases your credibility as an authority, doing things in a transparent manner, rather than leaving it to haggling, negotiation, and then disposing it, subjecting yourself to audit scrutiny 2 years down the line.
Well, that's the point that I'll bring up with our DG.
Absolutely.
Yes, that's the point. But like I said, also bearing in mind, like I said, if we get it evaluated and they come up with a price, and then all the offers you get are below that price, then, we're stuck again.
We'll help you deliver a message to your authority.
Yes.
These aircrafts were purchased without the help of the authority,
Certainly.
without the consultation of even the Minister of Transportation. Your idea of disposing it is for the government to recover money, or for the Gambian people to recover public funds, not to get maximum value for it. Therefore, it is paramount to get it done the right way, based on information, based on expert knowledge. If you can get an expert to fly in, supply the information online, pay for it, and get information to base your sale on. The loss has been done.
That's noted.
Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Commissioners. I'd just like to add on that point that I think it's certainly desirable. Certainly, I haven't had time to check it, but I do know there is a process for the disposal of public assets, or there used to be a policy on the disposal of public assets. Public assets cannot be disposed of without some sort of assessment and appraisal and evaluation process. That's what I recollect, but I can't point you to the right policy. And in any event, at any time that public assets are to be disposed of, it is desirable that there is an independent element. I have no doubts that you have the expertise within your institution to do an assessment or to give us an indicative value maybe, but it is desirable that an independent person outside of the institution that's responsible for selling actually gives an opinion as to the value of the assets. That doesn't mean you will get that value, but you will have to have a procedure whereby if you don't get that value, that procedure also kicks in, it's applied. Because it's not every time that you have a reserve price that you get the reserve price. You may have offers below the reserve price. But what is important is that you have a mechanism for making a decision if you have offers below a reserve price. I'd just like to point that out. Secondly, I'm very concerned about two things you said about this money. Because if the cabinet did say you should dispose of the assets, and you need money actually to do that. Did you go back to cabinet to submit a budget to say that, look, yes, we are ready to assist, but we will require this amount of money in order to carry out the cabinet decision? Have you done this?
Not to my knowledge, no.
But I think it ought to have been your responsibility to go back and say, yes, this is how much it will cost. And can we have some money so that a budget so that we can do what you want? Okay. The third thing I'm concerned about is time.
Okay.
I mean, it seems to me if you've been advising and in October you had a first meeting of the task force, we are in December, no second meeting, and you're saying the aircrafts are depreciating, yet you still only have a draft agreement. So what's going on? Who is responsible for the delays and where is the delay coming from?
Well, the draft agreement has been forwarded to the potential brokers, and we're just waiting for their feedback. Like I said, you know...
How were the brokers identified?
3.
How were they identified? Did you send out an advertisement that you want to sell these aircraft and you are inviting brokers to put in a bid?
Yeah, we did that. Yes.
You did that?
Yes.
Okay. So why is it taking it so long for the brokers to react to these? When did you send it out?
2 weeks ago.
So why are they taking so long?
I can't answer for them, but I guess part of it, like I said, is these assets are not hotcake.
Yeah, but you have submitted documents which show that there are people who are interested actually for a commission in disposing of these assets.
Yes, and we
So
forwarded that for
so
the
the situation is not as dire as you're making out. If people have actually submitted an interest, and some of them, you know, since June, you know, November, you provided these documents.
Yes.
So it seems the delay is on our side, not for want of interested people.
Yeah, I indicated that, like I said, we have some of them, like we feel is fair offer, and we've indicated in our letter to Ministry of Works. For example, that is the offer for the, how do you call it, the fighter jet. We have only one offer that's coming from the manufacturer.
Yes, but I see an offer which seems to be saying they can dispose of the entire fleet on your behalf for a commission.
Yeah, but those are the people we've actually sent this brokerage agreement to.
Okay. All right, I do not have any further questions. If the commission has any recommendations, I'm sure in due course.
I had this mention of a draft agreement.
Yes.
Where is the draft agreement? I think you mentioned a draft agreement prepared by or at the Attorney General's chambers.
Yes.
Where is that draft agreement?
That's the draft we forwarded to the brokers. So we yet to get a feedback from the brokers.
What I mean is, you have a copy, do you?
Yeah, I have a copy. Yes.
Yes.
Can we have-
Okay, yes. And all the other documents that you brought, the offers that you have, and the recommendations that you made to government. Can you collect the recommendations as well?
This was the status report. That's an offer. That's an offer. And this was... That's an offer. No, you can use that one. That's an offer. Istanbul. That's an offer. Yeah, those are the offers.
So just for the record, what I have here is the state aircraft status. This is what you submitted
Yes,
to the Ministry of Works.
works.
And then we have the non-exclusive aircraft brokerage agreement, draft agreement.
Yes.
You said it was prepared by the Ministry of Justice and Attorney General's chambers.
Yes.
And these are the offers. One dated 4th September. No. Sorry, that's a letter from you. Okay, 2 letters communicating offers that were made for the aircrafts. And the offers themselves, one from Sternberg, is it Sternberg?
Istanbul.
Aviation, and the other from Omega
Yeah.
Initiative, DO. What about this Viridis? In the documents that you forwarded, there is a letter from, is it Viridis?
Those are the brokers.
All right, I'll just add that to the package. I hope you're not giving us your originals. Okay, we'll make copies.
No, we have copies of all those enough.
Makali is also a broker?
Yes.
I'm just adding, can you show him these documents just to confirm? I'm adding them to the package.
Okay. Yeah.
All right.
The Makali was only interested in the air tractors.
Noted. That's noted.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, may I apply to have admitted documents relating to the state aircraft fleet, the disposal, the status and disposal of the state aircraft fleet?
Will tell. Please look at that status report. Can you please sign it for 10 seconds?